What's good, everybody? Welcome into the early edge on this glorious Saturday, Christmas Eve. And all of you have decided to spend your morning with us. And you know it's a special Saturday if I'm working on my only day off of the week, but I wouldn't miss it for the world. So today's going to be kind of an expanded show. We'll do our normal morning show, and then we're going to go through every single NFL game there is today. It's a full slate. It's like a Sunday, so we're going to put the two shows together just for you. Now, before we look forward, as always, we must look back. Yesterday, not a bad day at the brand, kind of like, ho-hum, But, NBA last night. How about not scoring in the fourth quarter? Bucks, Nets, thank you. Blazers, Nuggets, thank you. But it's one of those days everybody else is picking me up. Now, as always, hit that like button for us because I need to get to a certain number because we're going to give you something for those of you who never watch the evening shows. We got a little extra added bonus for you. Kind of get.
Looks like we lost Coach, guys, but it looks like talking about the evening shows here. You can see on the screen right now. You hit the bell icon, subscribe at YouTube, leave a like if you enjoy, enable the notifications if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And now we have Coach back. Coach, take it away.
Oh, my God. I want you to keep going, please. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic. But you guys are seeing what we're dealing with. There is weather. There is issues all over the country. Tech is an issue this morning. AB was supposed to be here. He got blacked out. So just work with us, bear with us, and we'll get through the whole thing. So let's bring in the stars of the show. You see him right now. We're going 5 wide on Christmas Eve. You just heard the stoic one. He runs everything NFL. He had to be here today. R.J. White. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. It's even cold in Florida, although we're not dealing with the conditions everyone else is, so I'm not going to complain too much. The worst we got here is frozen iguanas can fall out of trees. You have to watch your head because they fall down, they're not dead, and then once we thaw out a little bit, they just pick up and run away, which scares the hell out of some kids. But it gets pretty crazy here, but that's the worst we get down here.
Wow, that's a little added bonus storyline from R.J. White this morning. I kind of want to go and see that, to be honest with you. All right, next, she's done an amazing job of facilitating something this morning that I'll get to in just a moment. But on Christmas Eve, without any NHL, she is still here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ice Queen, Allie, good morning.
Good morning. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm happy to spend Christmas with all my SportsLine people. But, I hope everyone has a good day.
You're damn right. SportsLine, Caesars coming together here in just a moment. Now, next, you see him all over our college football previews all year long, and we're stoked that he's here on Christmas Eve. Micah Roberts, good morning, sir.
Good morning. What a beautiful lineup you guys have here. This is amazing. Merry Christmas to everybody. And everybody, please be safe out there and enjoy some football. Stay inside. No need to get out.
No need to get out. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I joke about it all the time, but Mikey and AB live in the same city. I say penthouse level. I say 8 floors below. And today is a perfect reason why. M squared, good morning. You, sir, are in a building that will not be blacked out in Nashville, Tennessee.
That is correct. No blackouts down here. Coach, good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas Eve here. Great to be here. Love the weather we have today because I love betting the under. Fantastic day for me.
Yes, you do. And Mikey has been in his lab all night long. Hit the like button for me because those of you, I just said it, that don't know what we do on the evening show, we got a little special. We call it the Donkey on the morning show today. And, of course, Mikey will be here to break down all of the NFL games with RJ later in the morning. But let's get into it now. Oh, wait a second. Now, I told you what Allie's been doing. So if you go to Caesars app, here's what we have for you. We went around to everybody in the Early Edge family today, and we put together a very special Caesars Sportsbook boost just for you. Look at all of that. Write it all down. Go to the app, play, plus 2,300, a $10 bet just for fun. We'll win you $230. Caesars called, Allie called, and we answered the phone. So take that in and play it, and let's all cash. We'll call that like a mini donkey today. All right. I love it. Allie, thank you very much. That was amazing by what you helped us put together. All right. Now, and Allie even has a football pick today. So before we get to those picks, storylines that could affect the betting lines today. And I got to tell you, RJ, me, you, Mikey, we do the mega preview on Tuesday, and we had no idea what it would look like today. But what a week it's been for the Eagles and the Cowboys. Start us off.
Yeah, the big storyline is the weather. Mike's going to get into that in a minute. I wanted to talk Eagles-Cowboys. Dallas was -1 on the look-ahead, which was kind of surprising considering Philly is the best team in the league. So even on the road, I don't know that they should be underdogs. Reopened 1.5 on Sunday night. Jalen Hurts got banged up in that game. Buzz built about an injury on Monday. Line got as high as 6.5 in a few spots on Monday, and then 6 everywhere else. The market thought that was too high with Minshew being a quality quarterback, plus a little bit of coach speak that Hurts might play. Got down to 4.5 on Tuesday. Thursday, Hurts ruled out in the morning. Line goes back up to 6. Market says, no. Minshew's actually pretty solid. Goes back down as low as 4 in some spots, 4.5 at others. Now that's where it's sitting. Power ratings wise, I think the line of 6 was fair. I have the Eagles rated as a +3 team with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, which is where I have San Francisco Brock Purdy. Similar situation. I think San Francisco's a little better on defense. I think Minshew's a more proven quarterback than Purdy. But I'm not rushing to play Dallas in a massive divisional game here. 6 probably is too much, even though that's where my power ratings put it.
I can't wait to break this game down a little bit later on in the show, but this has been one of the many games that we really just don't know what could happen today. But we know in Dallas the weather will not be an issue. But Micah, around the country, we're already seeing it in the chat. So many people saying, hey, here we're having power outages. Here it's icy. Here it's freezing. This is going to be an interesting day. What do you got?
Yeah. Once in a generation storm. Are you kidding me? This is crazy. Bomb cyclone, Arctic blast, polar tsunami, all kinds of names. It's great, clever, but it makes for good football, good under weather. I think we'll see here. Right now, Cleveland, we're looking at 6 degrees, 37% chance of rain, and 28-mile-per-hour winds. That total shot from 34.5 to 32. You got the Lions and Panthers. Not so much. You're not hearing too much about Charlotte, but 20 degrees, 11-mile-per-hour wind, and 43.5 the total from 44.5. And in New England, you've got 15 degrees, 16-mile-per-hour winds, total 42. And Chicago, this one here, 6 degrees, 22-mile-per-hour winds. You're thinking the quarterbacks maybe do a little battle there. That total has dropped from 40.5. Well, it's still 40.5. And you've got, let's see, Kansas City, 16 and 11-mile-per-hour winds. Total there is 50. That's gone up a little bit. And the Ravens, this is one here, 15-mile-per-hour wind, 17 degrees, total 34.5, down from 39.5. And then the big one with the Raiders and Steelers tonight, 12 degrees, 11% chance of precipitation, 16-mile-per-hour winds. That total has dropped from 41 to 38. So obviously the books are saying, the weather means 3 points or so, 4 points, but maybe needs a little more.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Daniel in the chat says, hey, it's just cold weather. It's not the end of the world. Daniel, we are a sports betting show. This affects a lot of the sports betting that we're doing. Yes, Micah, thank you. Now, as many of you know, this is powered, as always, by SportsLine. If you're not a SportsLine member yet, what are you doing? But it's a Christmas holiday. You could gift somebody a year-long membership. It'll cost you $1,000. No, it won't. We charge you $10 a month. That's it. The best value in sports betting, and it's not close. But I'm going to do you one better on this incredible Christmas Eve. Use a promo code early, and I'm going to give you 30 days for free. All of the NFL playoffs, all of the college football playoffs, all of it for $0. My Christmas gift to you. All right, let's get into our board for the day. And I tell you what, RJ, you did such a good job of hosting for me this morning when I had my power knocked out. I would love to start with some gritty, some gutty NFL picks right here, right now. You, sir, are up first.
Let's go Steelers -2. This line came down. It got to 3 at some points. It was 2.5 a lot of the week. It's 2 now. New England's offense ran all over Vegas' defense. Pittsburgh's offense has 150-plus rush yards, 3 of the last 4. They're built for this type of game. Their defense is also elite versus the run. That will put the ball in Derek Carr's hands, where you do not want them when the temperatures are freezing. He's 0-4, 1-7, below 40 degrees. So this is a great time to fade Carr anyway. And then you get to the emotion around the night, honoring Franco Harris, who just passed away this week, honoring the Immaculate Reception, the 50th anniversary of that, which is why you get this game in prime time on Christmas Eve. So the crowd's going to be pumped here, even more than they usually are for a Pittsburgh game. And Pittsburgh already has a huge coaching advantage as well. I think they're going to win this game. -2, it seems like too little to lay. So I'm laying that. I also have the under 32.5 in that Saints-Browns game. Cold, people talk about the cold. Oh, it's just cold. Well, it's incredibly windy there. And when you get the cold mixed with that type of wind, you get these very low scoring games, these 14-3, 10-7 type of games. So I think that's what we're going to see here. Then you look at these two offenses. New Orleans, their best outdoor game was 16 points at Tampa. Otherwise, they scored 14, 13, 10, and 0, averaging just over 10 points per game outdoors. Cleveland's offense looks terrible with Deshaun Watson, 2 touchdowns in 3 games. Offensively, they had that crazy Houston game where they scored a bunch of non-offensive touchdowns. But that offense isn't working. So with these bad offenses, I mean, it might be a 10-7 type of game, even, in good weather. And we're not going to get that here. So I like the under in that game, even at 32. And you can find some 32.5s out there. So I would play it at 32.5. Third pick is a prop. Richie James going over 3.5 receptions. You can find -110 out there. He has at least 4 catches or 4 targets and 5 receptions in all 5 games where he's had a 70% snap rate. That's 4 starts plus 1 that first game of the season where he was pressed into more duty than he thought. Vikings allowed the second most pass yards in the league. Dayball, even though the Giants don't pass the ball a ton, Dayball is a very smart offensive coach. He knows where to exploit weaknesses, and he's going to do that with these Vikings. I also like Daniel Jones going over 228.5 pass yards, which is higher than he usually throws with that same theory. But this feels more solid playing the James over 3.5 receptions just because of his history with a 70% snap rate.
Now, before 2 weeks ago, you could have got 2 of those picks on SportsLine, but not the other one. But RJ, now, please enlighten me. We have a lot of new people tuning in today. Can you get the prop you just gave at SportsLine?
You can now get props in the tool at SportsLine, and under, you subscribe to your the experts as usual, and you will get those picks when they make them. We put that in, I believe, middle of last week. So it's been fun. We're working on still a little bit with the streaks, how to display the streaks correctly, but you'll at least be able to see the plays as they make them, which I know is a huge deal for people like prop stars where you're trying to get out in front of the number. He's going to lock them in, and you can lock them in at the same time before you even get to the show sometimes.
Yeah, but you've got to be a SportsLine member to lock those numbers in and get them before anybody else. And those of you who have been riding with us, rolling with us, you know how important that is, especially for props. Now, one prop bettor you won't see on the NFL page is Alabama. However, it's Christmas Eve. So I said, could you give us a prop that maybe we can put into the Caesars boost and you could give out on the show? And so, Allie, for the first time ever, an NFL prop. Talk to me.
Yep, so I do have an NFL prop today. So I'm going to go with Darius Slayton, longest reception over 21.5 yards at -125. He's leading the team in air yards and average depth of target. So this could be a nice matchup against a Viking pass defense that's 27th in passing DVOA. And they've given up the second most yards to opposing wide receivers this season. So playing on a dome and on a fast track, Slayton, I think he'll get a few opportunities to make some big plays in a game that Giants are likely to be trailing.
Depth of target somewhere. Prop stars just has his hand over his heart, and it just means so much to him that you delivered that so strongly. All right, so Darius Slayton, longest reception over. Let me check. 21.5 yards. Allie, thank you very much. And again, thank you for the boost. Now, my man AB, we were supposed to go 6 wide this morning, but he is in a rolling blackout in the janitor's closet. So he has 3 big picks today. And maybe it's better that I give them out anyway. He's been kind of cold, but today he's going to be red hot. So we're going to go with Derrick Henry over 12.5 receiving yards. We cashed this a week ago. This is an easy number, especially when you have a backup quarterback and you're just looking to dink and dunk. Dak Prescott to throw at least 1 interception. It's the Eagles defense. Enough said. And then Adam Thielen's longest reception over 19.5 yards. Same play that Allie just gave out for the Vikings. They're going to have a lot of running around to do today. We love Thielen to get at least 1 20-yard reception. All right. Micah Roberts, we have arrived at that time for you to enlighten us. I don't want 1 play. Could you give me 2?
You got it, Coach. We're going to start out with Tennessee, the under 35.5. I think that the total, even without the weather, would be hard-pressed to get that high, and that's based on the Tennessee Titans. I think they've gone an approach. They've looked at them losing 4 straight, and we need to run the ball more. Run the ball more. Perfect situation now. Tannehill's out. It's not perfect for them, but perfect for the Titans, I think, because they're just going to run the ball, I believe. And the dunks, short dunks, you mentioned Henry getting over receiving yards. That's probably a good play and right in line with what I'm thinking here. Cold game, run the ball, run Henry, run Willis. And I also bet Willis under 125.5 passing yards because, we saw them almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs. He had like 58 yards passing, and 2 of the games he didn't get over 100 yards when he started. So that's what I'm looking at there. Texans have lost their last 9, but I'm not so sold on the Titans themselves laying the 3 -20. And that's just because the Texans have shown some heart the last 2 weeks covering against the Cowboys and the Chiefs. So just the under on that game there. Then we're going to go to Pittsburgh here. Money line, $1.30, lay in that there. I think with Kenny Pickett back in the game, he's so much smoother than Trubisky, runs the game well, and the running game gets involved when he's in there. It's just a nice operation that he runs there. I think the Steelers are going to be in good shape here. But most importantly, the Raiders, very fortunate to win that last game. They lost the other game to the Rams, so they're 4-1 in their last 5. But they should have lost their last 2 coming into this game. And the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, Franco Harris passing, this is the main point to betting the Steelers in this game. Mike Tomlin will have his guys ready than they've ever been all season long for this moment. Steelers family, a part of Pittsburgh died, and they will respond with a win. Steelers get the win.
I think for a lot of our younger viewers, they need to understand just how big of a deal Franco Harris was and has continued to be in Pittsburgh. I do not see a scenario where the Steelers don't come out tonight and are hyped through the roof. I love the money line. I love the -2. Simpatico is Micah and the stoic one, R.J. White. All right, now, look at Casey. He says, Allie does NFL? Wow. See, Allie, just like that, you're an NFL capper. There you go. All right. Now, many of you just tune in to the morning show. Many of you just tune in to the evening show. Now, in the evening show, we do this thing called the same game parlay because a lot of other brands won't tell you this. You're allowed to have fun when you're doing sports betting. It's allowed. So this is a fun bet, but also it's a very calculated and it's a very well thought out same game parlay. We do it every single primetime show. So, Mikey, I thought it'd be cool to do a donkey on the morning show just to kind of give people an idea of what we're all about. Would you mind doing that for us this morning?
Yes, we've got a donkey here. It is not a traditional donkey. It is not a same game parlay. We've thrown together several games here, but it is a situation I'll like. I'll start by telling you it's all unders. We're taking unders in a lot of games. So looking at the NFL, though, games with 10-plus mile-per-hour winds over the last 2 seasons are now 92, 60, and 1 for 61% towards the under, not factoring in the cold at all in this particular spot. Here we go. 5 games. We're going under 40 in Bills at Bears, under 41 in Cincinnati at the Patriots, under 32 or 32.5 at the Saints and Browns, under 35 in Falcons Ravens, and under 38 in Raiders Steelers. All of those together plus 24.93, essentially plus 2,500 on that ticket. And then we're also going to put these all in a teaser. It'll be the same 5-leg teaser, 6-point teaser. You add 6 points to each one of those. The payout on that is going to be plus 400. Don't typically recommend teasing totals. If you followed me for a while, you know that we do not tease totals. However, I'm okay breaking the rule in this particular spot because 3 of the games get us through some relatively key numbers. Most notably, the Saints and Browns game, teasing that gets you up to 38 or 38.5, keeping you alive with the 20-17 final score. Should that game shoot out, that's what a shootout would look like in that weather. There they are. Plus 400 on the second one.
I absolutely love it. We will have graphically here in a second so you can write them all down and have plenty. Now, here's the nice thing about the donkey this morning. They have a lot of time to get it in. Normally at night, we're like cranking. You got like 10 minutes, but this is very special. And thank you to M Squared for putting together both the mini donkey teaser and the mini donkey parlay. All right. As I look at my notes, grab your paper. Grab your pencil. Here is the early recap, and it looks absolutely glorious. M Squared, here's his straight picks. Remember, we started this on Tuesday, Okay? And if you stick around, we're going to go through every single NFL game, and Mikey will explain these picks to you. But Eagles, Packers, Vikings, and the teaser Ravens and the 49ers. AB, the three I just gave out. Derrick Henry over 12.5 receiving yards. Dak Prescott to throw an interception. And Adam Thielen, longest reception over 19.5 yards. Maestro, he's on assignment, but still sent in two big picks. Travis Kelce over 5.5 catches. Titans -3. Stoic one. Again, we'll go through all of these in a moment. Lions, Bears, Steelers, Saints, Browns under. Teaser. Then Allie, first ever NFL play on the show. Darius Slayton, longest reception over 21.5 yards. Then Micah, two big plays. Texans, Titans under 35.5. Steelers, money line -130. Oh, that's a great start. And then there's all of the props from the prop show. Chip, Henry Hunt from Big Pick Energy Friday. What does this show? It shows that we're a crew. We stick together. We grind. So we don't want you to bet all of these. Take the information. Use it to the best of your ability, and then make the picks that you like based off of what my cappers tell you. That's what the business is all about. All right, Allie, Micah, Merry Christmas Eve. Thank you guys for working today. Enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Thanks, Coach.
Bye, guys. Merry Christmas.
That's Allie and Micah. So thrilled they came on this morning. They will be exiting stage left, but we are not done. We are far from being done. No, it's one of the rare years that we get a full slate on a Saturday, Christmas Eve. And the fact that we get to work at CBS is an even bigger bonus. And today, all kinds of NFL at the network.
This weekend, the NFL on CBS decks the halls with football. Happy holidays from the NFL on CBS.
Oh, you're damn right. Let's get into it. Now, we tell you all the time, Tuesdays is our biggest mega preview, biggest day of the NFL week because lines are always changing. Maybe never more so, gentlemen, than this week because of the weather that we have already documented. So let's get into it. Game number 1. And, Mikey, I'm starting with you because one of your plays is in this game. It is frigid in the Windy City, Chicago. The Bills are laying a robust 9, the total 40.5. Mikey, what do you like in this one?
Just the under in the parlay is the only thing I like in this one. I play the under in this game, play the under in every single weather game that is 10 plus miles per hour and this kind of temperature out there, but nothing that I like in the game in particular.
Okay. RJ, now the Bills, we know they're your team. Chiefs are me and Mikey's team, and they have not been the cover machine that we have seen from them early in the year. What do you make of this number?
Yeah, they've won by more than 8 just once since week 8, and the defense struggled against Miami's rush offense. We know the Bears are going to come in and want to run the ball. I played it at +9 early in the week. It's come down to 8. When the wind here, interestingly, could be nearly as bad as the Browns game, where everybody, 32.5, lowest total ever, people have been talking about. And this one's up at 40. So it seems like there's giving a little bit of allowance to Josh Allen's big arm. That massive win game he played against New England, I believe it was 14-10. And I believe the Bills scored 10. So it's not like he was impervious to the win in that game. So the biggest home loss for Chicago has had was by 9. And that was in a game. They were neck and neck with Green Bay the whole game. Green Bay ran that Christian Watson run that was like 60 yards or 40 yards or something. And that covered for them, got to 9. So you take that away and it was still a close game that Chicago played at home. So they're very good at home. They're getting Khalil Herbert back. This game's going to be predicated on rushing. So he's going to make a big difference there. So I even at -8, that's the perfect tease number for the Bills. I didn't want to do it because this just seems like the Bears could get to running the ball, do what they want to do offensively, and make this a coin flip game at the end.
No, you're exactly right. Mikey, let me come back to you quickly. We talk about running the ball. There's been a few quarterbacks that we have been locked into because their rushing prop, they have just been blasting it every single week. And Justin Fields is one of those quarterbacks. Is this projected to be a good day for him with his legs?
I think that he's clearly got the upside. I'm not going to take his unders by any means. Mostly just staying off of it. I'm very interested on Khalil Herbert mixing back in if he takes away a few carries from Fields in this particular spot. That and just I think the game moves a lot slower overall. I think we see Buffalo run the ball a lot more. So I think the possessions will be slightly more limited in the game. So for all those reasons, I'm not going to take the over on it, but there's no way I'm taking the under for sure. I can tell you that.
All right. Very, very good. Brandon, gents, did you already make a play on the Lions game? I just joined. No, this is an expanded show. We just started the NFL talk, so you haven't missed very much of anything. Get here on time next time. All right, game number 2. And this one screams, as RJ just said, maybe 10-7, 7-6. It's going to be ugly in Cleveland. It is ice cold, and this matters. Browns are laying 2.5. It's been around 2.5 for three guys all week. Total 32, as RJ said. Some places 32.5. So you're both on the under here, but RJ, let me start with you. Is there any scenario that you see that this could be an offensive game for anybody?
I mean, Taysom Hill. I mean, if you're going by what the Saints should do, it should be a Taysom Hill game. Throw him at quarterback, so you don't have to throw it. He can run his package of plays where you're doing some, some run pass options, or handing him off, or get it to Kamara on the edge, or let him run. So there's a lot of things you could do there. They are down their top two receivers. Olave's out for this game as well, so it just makes sense to make it more of a run focused game for the Saints. And then Browns wise, Deshaun Watson has been struggling. Maybe he thinks that he can be the hero in this game and combat the win and throw the ball a little bit. I'm not sure that makes sense with Nick Chubb, healthy. He missed the first two practices of the week, but he seems fine now. So he didn't get a injury tag. So it looks like he's going to play. I think the prop market is kind of saying it might be a Taysom Hill game. His over under on rushing yards is 45.5, and it's minus 137 to the over at Caesars. So it does look like people are expecting 50+ rush yards from Taysom Hill, one of those games where he kind of dominates the touches more than Andy Dalton throwing the ball.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. And Mikey, Nick Chubb's number is 83.5. And this feels like a game where, and I know we have Kareem Hunt, but they could just turn around and hand it off to him for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, they likely will. They'll turn around and hand it off. The issue with it is the boxes will be stacked today because there will not be a lot of throwing in this game. So the efficiency should take a pretty big hit. I don't mind going over there if you really like it. I do still expect them to escape with the win and kind of ice the game out there. The issue with it is we're not kicking any field goals in this game. Definitely not anything beyond probably 35 yards. Passing game definitely going to be impacted. You look at, if you watch the NFL last year, remember the game with the Bills and the Patriots where the Patriots didn't even attempt to throw the football at all?
Yes.
We're approaching that kind of territory on this game and the Chicago game weather-wise. It's not quite that extreme, but it's close enough. A team like the Saints, honestly, Andy Dalton shouldn't see the field today. He will, but he shouldn't. It should be a Taysom Hill game 100% of the way, in my opinion. We'll see if they're sharp enough to do that. If they are, I might look to potentially be betting them in game at +3, +4.5 if they fall behind, things like that. It's under all day here for me in this one.
And you heard Mikey talk about live betting. There's a lot of you that are new into the chat. You come here to learn. I'm telling you right now, live betting is all the rage, and it's a great way to cash tickets, but you got to know what you're doing. I encourage you to follow Mikey on social media. He is the best that I know on in-game live betting. But be very careful. You got to be watching the game live also. Don't just look at the score. All right, game number 3. And this number, guys, has continued to move, continued to drop. And, Mikey, I'm going to start with you because you are there in Nashville. You live there. You know what the weather is like. It's down to 3 for the Titans, total 37. Micah likes the under at 35.5 in this game. AB likes Derrick Henry to go over 12.5 receiving yards at minus 115, the same bet we cashed a week ago. Mikey, what are we looking like there in Nashville?
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold everywhere across the country. It is warming up a little bit, though. We got a lot of sunshine right now. We might see things move up into the 20s. It's still going to be very, very cold. The wind is calm. Not comfortable at all, though. It's difficult to run in this air. It's difficult to move in the air. The athletes, they can handle it, but it's not comfortable. It's not fun for anyone. Expect a heavy, heavy dose of Derrick Henry. I love pretty much every over on Henry, whether it's scoring touchdowns, rushing attempts, receiving yards, rushing yards. It should be a ton of Derrick Henry in this particular spot. I might speculate live in game on some stuff with Malik Willis. I think that everyone knows Henry gets the ball so much that he might have the opportunity for a big play on his own, but it's mostly Titans lean, under lean. Not going to touch it where at this current total, because there is a lack of wind, you can still throw the football in this game. We'll see how much they want to do it, but that's mostly my concern there. That, and I think that the turnover is definitely in play here in this one. So I want to lean under heavily on this game. I almost included it in the parlay. I left it out. If you love it, feel free to add it in there, but I think that I'm going to wait and bet this one live.
All right. Jason says, absolutely. We also need a live mic feed during the games. We've talked about it. That might be coming. I'm not kidding. Brock says this type of show is slowly becoming the most important show of the week. We talked about it doing it this way. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Now, RJ, Mikey just talked about he loves all the Derrick Henry props. I can confidently say I've never seen this number in my career. And I'm talking about the juice on the number. 116.5 is just his rushing number. His combo number is 131.5, but his rushing is juiced, at least at my book, to minus 160. What do we do, RJ?
Yeah, the impetus there is going to be play his over. He's got over 200 plus rush yards in each of his last 4 games against Houston. So this is just a trend that everybody's identifying. Houston can't defend the run. He's going to go for his 30 carries, 200 plus yard game. Tennessee outgained Houston 354 to 161 in yards with Willis at quarterback in his first start earlier in the year. Just had 40 net pass yards in that game, 314 rush yards as a team. We know most of those will go to Henry if they do something similar here. My only concern with Tennessee being super run focused in this game is that now we know there was a report out today. Ryan Tannehill looks like he's not going to be back for the regular season. He's probably not going to be back for the postseason with his injury. So at some point, the kid gloves have to come off with Willis. He's going to have to throw the ball at some point. You're not going to win games. You can do here and there, play him 1 or 2 games, run heavy, kind of mask what he is. But at some point, you have to open up the offense and throw the ball. So will that come here as a surprise against the Texans in a game they're supposed to win? I don't know. If they're controlling the game, probably not. But he's going to have to throw the ball at some point. So I wouldn't be surprised. I know Houston has been fighting the last few weeks. They were outgained by about 300 yards against Kansas City. That game should not have been a overtime type of game. Kansas City should have won that game by 20. So if that's the team we get here, Tennessee could run away with this one. I like Larry's play of -3. I also have Tennessee as a -3 play on the site.
It's a lot of great information right there. And you talk about how low the number is from Leak Willis. Do you have the guts to play, Mikey, an under at 121.5?
Yeah, only if you have the ability to live bet, and maybe take a live over if you see the Titans are not winning the game and they have to throw. But yeah, I like the under there. I would be shocked if he had 100 yards passing in this game.
Okay, very good. Shocked, and I would be too. All right, moving on to the next game. And me and Mikey, we love wearing our Chiefs pride on our chest, just like RJ does with his Bills. But it does not mean that we are not objective. And Mikey, this is the worst against the spread team maybe in the last 10 years. They're awful at covering the spread. And today against a Seahawks team that we know can score in a very chilly Arrowhead, the number now, and all these numbers have been moving. So we're going to try to give you the up-to-the-minute number. It's now at 10, just changed to 10. 50.5 is the total. Your thoughts, Mikey?
Yeah, I can't say that I agree with the total moving. I kind of like the under in this spot already. Chief does as well. He says the dogs are barking here against his team. I think the number should be 47 on the total personally. Yes, these offenses can get there. Kansas City's terrible defending the pass. They can score at will. However, it's very, very cold. It is still windy. Kansas City is still very good at having drives to eat half a quarter to 3/4 of a quarter at a time. I like the under in this particular spot. And as far as them covering the spread, not going to touch it. I do think that they find a way. At 10, the back door is wide open, especially in a game with the weather conditions like this. So I'm not going to bet them to cover. They've actually, I don't like trends very much. I want to read one trend because it's a trend since 1970 with the Kansas City Chiefs. This team is 16-31-2 against the spread when they are double-digit favorites. That is terrible.
33%. Ugh.
Since 1970. It's just, it just tells you how hard it is to cover a double-digit spread in this league. It's more of talking about the league, not necessarily them. But they've been one of the worst at it. And it's just difficult for anyone to do.
That's very, very hard to do. It's hard to do that. And RJ, that's a great nugget from Mikey. But despite the against the spread disaster that the Chiefs have been, they're still tied for the number 1 seed in the AFC at 11-3. So they're winning games. They're just not covering. What do you see from just the game today?
I see a defense that's struggling. They gave up 52 points to Denver and Houston the last 2 weeks. I know that Denver game turnovers played a part there. Patrick Mahomes started to give the game away in the second half a little bit, throw some interceptions, set Denver up with some short fields. That didn't quite happen against Houston. I don't think he had any interceptions. Maybe they had a few fumbles, but they just need to stop turning the ball over and putting their defense in bad situations. But the defense isn't playing that well either, especially against pretty good. You get a step up here with the Seahawks offense. I know Tyler Lockett is out. That is a huge missing part of their offense. So we'll see how they handle that. They had a lot of guys questionable in terms of skill position on the injury report, talking about like Ken Walker, DJ Dallas, Noah Fant, all those guys questionable. Marquise Goodwin. I think they're all supposed to play, but we'll see how the very cold weather affects them, because when you're injured, you're playing it just gets 10 times worse when you're trying to play through an injury in super cold weather. The only game Seattle lost by more than 7 were against the elite San Francisco defense. I think against mediocre to bad defenses, which is what Kansas City's been the last few weeks, they can backdoor cover here, and I think that's what the total is saying, that they're expecting more points in this game, with the win not being a factor and Kansas City's defense being a little bit easier to score on the last few weeks.
No doubt about it. Great analysis from both Mikey and RJ, but they are not the only ones weighing in on this game. From our prop show on Friday, if you didn't get a chance to catch it, Sia is on Juju Smith-Schuster over 4.5 catches at -135 if you feel so inclined. And then Prop Stars, he loves this week for Travis Kelce. When he gave it out, it was 76.5. I honestly have not looked at the number currently, but that's where it was when we gave it out yesterday on the Props show. And I just gave away my list of – are you kidding me right now? All right. It's not easy hosting the show. All right, moving on to the next game. And again, these are all 1 o'clock games, and I'll tell you when we transfer to the 4 o'clock games. This is another game, gentlemen, that the number has moved in the last 2 hours. It's now Vikings 4, the total 48. AB is on Adam Thielen's longest reception over 19.5 yards. RJ, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, I have Richie James over 3.5 receptions, like I said earlier. I think this is going to be a pass game for Giants, so I like all these overs on the Giants props. They're not a very good pass offense. I believe they've had top 200 pass yards 3 times all year, but Brian Daboll is the X factor there. He's been able to muddy up games and win some games that Giants probably shouldn't have won based on his game plan, sticking to the run, running the offense through Saquon Barkley. You don't do that against this Minnesota defense. They're second worst in the league, second most pass yards allowed in the league. Their defense struggles against any competent pass offense, and sometimes even not competent pass offenses. We saw Indy jump out to a 33-0 lead against them, even after losing Jonathan Taylor. So it seems like the Giants will have some success offensively here. And I know that they've struggled, especially the last month. They played a lot of NFC East teams. I believe their last 4 were against NFC East teams. 1-3-1 straight up against the NFC East this year, 7-2 outside their division. I know these are 2 teams the market's trying to both fade. They don't believe in they didn't believe in the Giants earlier this year. Definitely haven't believed in the Vikings since at least week 4 or 5. They keep fading them. So I think that's why this line is kind of push-pull. Do you make it as high as 5? Do you make it down to 3? I think 4 is probably as high as you make it. At that point, I'm leaning Giants, and I do like their passing props.
Yeah, I tell you what, their front 4 really defensively really impressed me last week against the Commanders. Now, Sean in the chat says, what do we think about Richie James? Talked about him. And Osborne here. Osborne is 35.5. Potential ladders. It was the last game a fluke. Mikey, I ask you that question.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say you can call it a fluke. You can call it, it's more a product of just the game script. They were trailing massively. The Colts were essentially playing prevent defense for half the game. That's where a lot of the workload came from. Osborne, he's flashed the upside, but he's certainly not going to be a priority. It's going to be a lot of Justin Jefferson. I think Hawkinson gets involved a lot more in this particular matchup as well. I don't like playing a ton of Osborne there. I think that it's, if you're going to do that, I would honestly look at his longest reception over. What's more to happen is he's likely to have one big play in that game. As far as this game itself, though, I played the Vikings -3 on Tuesday. I did pay -115 on it. I loved it at that price. I think it's, very likely they win by a field goal or more. I'm not going to play it above that, though. At this point, I do think that it's tightened up. I love the Giants in DFS today. I have a ton of them. I think they're going to have all the opportunity in the world to rack up stats. I'd be more focused on their player props than them actually winning the game or covering the spread personally. Look, Minnesota's excellent in the passing game. They got a guy like Justin Jefferson, right? I think Dalvin Cook will have a little success as well. Where Minnesota is vulnerable, as we all know, is through the air. That's definitely the Giants' weakest part of the team is the passing game right now. However, they have an excellent coaching staff. I think they will be able to scheme things open enough to at least put drives together. Whether or not they convert those drives into a touchdown or not, we will see. But I do think they'll be competitive in moving the football, at least in this game. So I do like the player props on the Giants side in the receiving game. I think the whole crew does. We've seen Richie James. We see a lot of guys on Slayton. I think it makes a ton of sense, right? I think we're projecting neutral to trailing game script most of the way here for the Giants. So like the Vikings in the game at 3, don't love it if you're having to pay 4. Certainly wouldn't lay it at 4.5 or 5.
And to Mikey's point, because I know we like to make fun of Daniel Jones. Oh, the Giants are a pretty good football team, and they looked pretty good, especially defensively, which when you're laying 4 or 5 is hard to overcome. To Mikey's point, RJ, Sia is on Dalvin Cook twice, longest rush, and his rushing number 76.5. We gave it out yesterday on the Prop Show. And then Prop Stars loves Justin Jefferson. 300, I believe the exact number is 342 yards to break the all-time record. So you got to believe, RJ, that the Vikings are going to do everything in their power since they already have the division wrapped up and the Eagles have the number 1 seed probably locked up if they just win one more game. So now it's about taking care of your players and taking care of the health. Do you think they will target Justin Jefferson a lot today?
And they're going to target him because he's their best player. I think when the window's still open for them to get the number 1 seed and Philly, big underdogs today, have their backup quarterback maybe through the rest of the regular season. They're not going to write off getting that number 1 pick. They think that they could do that. They obviously would rather play at home rather than having to go outdoors to a place like Philly in the playoffs. That would suit their offense much better. So they go all out for that however you win. So that's why I agree with Sia's play about the Dalvin Cook overs, because that's the way you exploit this Giants defense, is running the ball against them. I believe they're 30th in rush yards per play allowed. So that's probably what you do. But of course, the shot's going to be there for Jefferson. He's your best player by far. You want to keep him involved in the offense. And the Giants don't really have cover people that can take him out of the game like some other defenses might.
Okay, keep that in mind, but probably not a bad little sprinkle, as we like to say, on a little JJ tonight, who, by the way, was at the Timberwolves game the other night, just loving being him. He loves him, and so do we. All right, next game, 1 Eastern today. It's a lot of games at 1 o'clock Eastern today. Bengals -3. It's come down to 3 now. 41.5 is the total in New England. Now, it's not as cold in New England as it is in a lot of other places, but this Patriots team has just been not good, and they're coming off one of the most unexpected, Mikey, endings maybe in NFL history. How do you come back from that when you're still very much alive in the playoff discussion?
Yeah, I mean, you got to bounce back in a big way. Teams got to rally around him individually, but they've also got to rally here. I think it's a good spot for the Patriots, honestly. I was a little disappointed the line moved this way so quickly. This thing was sitting 3.5 most of the week early. I thought we were going to see 4, even 4.5. That was silly of me to think that. I was hoping I was going to be able to bet it at 4, though. On the Patriots side, they probably should have won that game against the Raiders. I'm not going to say the Bengals should have lost necessarily, but they maybe didn't deserve to win against the Bucs either. They were very, very fortunate after getting knocked around in the first half, down 17-0. They somehow got 4 turnovers in 9 snaps against the Bucs. 2 of them were dropped snaps from Tom Brady. Not something that's going to happen again, but the weather is actually deteriorated in this particular game. Earlier in the week, we weren't projecting this one to be quite as cold and nasty as some of the other games. And it's not going to be extreme like Cleveland or Chicago, but early in the week, it was going to be 35 and 3 to 4 miles per hour wind. Now we're down in the teens and 10, 15 mile per hour winds with gusts up to 20 here. It's a pretty big difference between a game at 32 degrees, 34 degrees. So throwing the ball is not going to be quite as easy. On the Bengals side also, they've already locked in a playoff spot now based on the results of the Thursday night game. That is something to consider here as well, knowing that they're already in the playoffs. You can see a little bit of a letdown. It's a must-win for the Patriots. And, yeah, I think that their pass rush is going to be able to get home on Burrow a little bit. So it's not, in my opinion, it's not the obvious throw it on the Bengals at -3 like a lot of people probably think it is.
And we talk about that all the time. For those new viewers here to the Early Edge, you don't just say, oh, the Bengals, because I used to be that way before I started working with these amazing NFL minds. You can't just say, oh, they did. Can't do that. It's a different week, different team, different defense, different everything. Now, RJ, as I come to you, With all that being said, there's only 3 teams that have qualified for the playoffs in the AFC. Bills, Chiefs, and these Bengals. They have been rolling while the Ravens have been stalling. So do you see a Bengals that their momentum is going to keep helping them today against the Patriots?
Yeah, I think Mikey was subtweeting me here in that end of that comment, saying some people like the Bengals. A lot of people like the Bengals. And I do agree that the Patriots are probably the sharp side here. That's why it came down from 3.5. But I do like the Bengals here. I just don't think the Patriots are very well coached. I don't think their offense is very good. I do worry about their defense against that Cincinnati offensive line that has had its issues this year. That's the one reason that I don't want to go all in on Cincy. But at 3, I do like playing them. You look at the look ahead lines too. The Patriots are hosting Miami next week. And Miami is -3 also. So it's a 3-point game in both of those situations. Maybe I got that wrong. Maybe it's 3 the other way. But it just seems like to me, if you're equating these teams somewhat similar. No, I did have it right. Miami -3, I think, right now in the look aheads, if I wrote that down right. So is Miami and Cincy equivalent? I don't think so. I think Cincy has proven they're much better than Miami at this point. 11-1 against the spread in their last 12. Keep cashing for backers. I know that game was weird last week. Actually, for both these teams, it was kind of weird the way Cincinnati was able to come back in that game and the way the Patriots fell apart. But I just don't think that the Patriots are very good. I think the Bengals deserve to be laying probably 5 here in this game, or even closer to 6. So I would lay it with Cincy.
Okay. By the way, just to point out, and we don't always buy into these narratives or, as Mikey said, the trends, but next week, Monday night, January 2nd, who's playing each other, RJ?
Bills Bengals could be for the number 1 seed.
Could be for the number 1 seed, January 2nd, Monday night. All right, now somebody in the chat's been asking about this next game, and we want to reward them by saying, I hear you, I see you. You're asking about the Lions over. Let's talk about it right now. Lions in Carolina today, and all of a sudden, the Lions, RJ, are the toast of the town. -2.5. Total sitting on 44. They started 1-6, and now they are very much alive for an NFC playoff spot. They have won it with scoring a lot, then lately playing better defense. What do you make of the Lions today in Carolina?
Yeah, the market is telling you 3 is too much for this game. It got to 3 briefly, and it comes back down to 2.5, and that's kind of where it's at. I don't know that 3 is enough. I think the Lions are a good team, and they've proven that they're a good team over the last 6 weeks or so, winning games outdoors. That Giants and Bears game were both colder than the game last week that they won against the Jets, which was a little bit, could have went either way. They had that great play call on 4th and 1 to get that touchdown with their blocking tight end Brock Wright, 50 yards to win that game. So we'll see if that can carry over here. But you look at their overall numbers, they're like, okay, they took a step back against the Jets. Well, the Jets don't allow anybody to get yards, but it was the most yards that the Jets allowed since week 2 in that game. And then we saw the Jets had a little bit more success against Trevor Lawrence on Thursday than they did. So I think Detroit's offense is still playing well. Their defense, like you said, playing well, allowed just 50 rush yards to the Jets, 22 to Minnesota the week before. Panthers, I don't know that they're going to be able to run the ball here. I don't know that they want the game in Sam Darnold's hands. We saw how that worked last week. It did not work well for them. So I think Detroit -2.5 is a pretty good bet here.
I do too. And I've already played it personally. But Mikey, I know that we have been taught, mostly by you, that you got to look at everything individually. Every week is individual. But right now, it feels like this Lions team has so much momentum that you just have to play them, no?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say you don't have to play them, but I will agree that they have a ton of momentum. I think where you're seeing it show through, honestly, is on the defensive end, too. The team's really improved defensively. They're giving every ounce of effort that they have. They're really rallying around what the offense, special teams, everything has been able to do. It's an uncomfortable game for sure. Fortunately, they're playing a Panthers team that still has a massive, massive uphill battle ahead of them as well. I like the under in this game. I know a lot of people like the over still. Look, I think the number still should be closer to 41 personally. The Lions, they're at the point in the season where this is a game that they actually could be leading a lot of the way. When we see them leading a game, I think that they are well coached enough that they will start to eat the clock a little more. They will start to really value the possession of the ball a little bit more, especially in these conditions. So I do lean to the under pretty heavily in this one, like I do in every outdoor game basically today. It's still going to be cold. Winds still right around that 10 to 12 mile per hour range. It's going to impact a little bit on deeper throws. It should impact the kicking game just a little bit. But if I had to play the game, I would lay the 2.5 with the Lions. I think that this is a game that they should comfortably win. But I do lean to the under here in this one.
And just to throw it out there, people are wondering about, oh my goodness, we're wondering about the money line in this particular game. Is minus 145 is the money line in this game if you don't want to lay the 2.5 on the Lions. The Fighting Dan Campbell. What's crazy is that if they were in the Carolina Panthers division, they'd be leading it right now. Interesting. All right. Now, this next game, this line also has continued to move throughout the week. Falcons on the road in Baltimore. And the Ravens, well, for several weeks we said, they'll be okay. Lamar Jackson will be back. They're fine. They have a good enough record. Now, all of a sudden, they're looking up at the Bengals in first place, and now they're staring down the barrel of potentially missing the playoffs if they can't right the ship. They're laying 6.5 now. The total 35.5. Now, this is also on the East Coast. Also could be bad weather. But Mikey, you like a play in this game as part of your big teaser or parlay. I can't remember which one. What do you like here?
Yeah, I do like a play here, and this is the one that's moved against me this week. I've got 4 plays. 3 of them got pretty strong line movement in my favor, so I'm probably going to lose those and win this one based off how the NFL goes. But I do like the Ravens in a teaser. I had them at 7.5. I thought it was the perfect teaser leg at 7.5 when they are on their home field. The market laughed and said, no, they don't deserve to be 7-point favorites. Some of it is related to quarterback Tyler Huntley, though. He popped up on the injury report again, questionable. They've called up quarterback from the practice squad. I don't think it's a massive issue. I think he plays. I think he's fine. But it is worth noting that is likely why this thing has moved a little bit, and just weather conditions in general. Don't trust Desmond Ridder yet. He's not ready to play. He focused in on one receiver last week. Drake London had 70 of the 97 yards that he had. I think that the Ravens should be able to run all over it. This Falcons team wants to run the football. The Ravens, excellent run defense right now. J.K. Dobbins back on the other side. I think they're healthy enough. I'd be worried about them covering the spread because I think they just control the game and get in and get out with a win personally, which is why I liked them on the teaser leg a lot when the market thought they should be 7.5-point favorites. Still in my teaser leg, not changing anything there. Wouldn't get out of it, anything like that. I think the Ravens win this football game.
M Squared, you mentioned J.K. Dobbins. Well, from the prop show, Prop Stars is on Dobbins over 56.5 rushing yards. And then RJC is on Tyler Huntley under 30.5 longest completion. And he's not a guy that throws it deep downfield. Do you like fading Huntley today?
I think that makes sense. He's also missing Devin Duvernay, so the number one receiver in that offense is Demarcus Robinson, not a downfield threat at all. So Huntley's probably not going to get to throw it downfield. It'll have to be an intermediate pass that's a catch and run. And so maybe that can happen against the Falcons. They're not a great defense, but we'll have to see that. On the Pick Six podcast on Thursday, we do picks as well. I gave a Baltimore team total under 21.5. Didn't want to play the overall under, but once it became clear Lamar wasn't going to play, wanted to get it before that key number because I just don't see Baltimore scoring 20 in this game. So I think that's a good look. I think going under on Olamide Zaccheaus at 21.5 receiving yards. He got 3 looks from Ridder last week. Didn't catch any of them. He hasn't topped 13 yards, I believe, in 3 of his last 4. So that would be a good, decent way to look at it too. Should be a Baltimore running game control. But I think with Huntley at quarterback, 6.5 is still too large. My power ratings have a Baltimore at +1, but that was with the expectation that Lamar could be back this week. So, and playing at less than 100%. If you go back to their rating last week when we knew it would be Huntley, they're a -1.5 team. That would make this line around 4.5. So I believe there's a little wiggle room. I definitely wouldn't play it with the Ravens on straight on the line. If you want to play them, it's got to be money line, or maybe if you want to tease it, you could do that too. But if you're just looking at the spread, I think the Falcons could keep this close with their run game.
There are several things we like to say here at the brand to kind of emphasize our picks or our ideas or our opinions. One of them is don't bet on hope. And if you lay 6.5 with this Ravens team, with this quarterback, the way they've been playing, you're betting on hope that they figure it out. You don't want to do that. By the way, Mikey in the chat, I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to ask you. Kevin says the city and the mayor calling for the Titans to delay the game today. Are you hearing that there?
Yes, that is the thing. I don't think that it's going to happen. I think it's too late to have asked for that. I think that they probably should have asked for it at least yesterday before they did that. But yeah, there's lots of rolling blackouts in the area. A lot of people not pleased with it because last night, like every NFL stadium the night before, you're going to see every NFL stadium the night before is all lit up. Everything is there shining. A lot of people in the area did not appreciate Broadway being all lit up and the stadium being all lit up while everyone else was in rolling blackouts when the temperature was -1 outside. They did not appreciate
I'd be mad too. I'd be mad too. I would be mad too. Well,
yeah, so that it's happening. I don't think that the NFL is going to honor the at this point. I think it's probably too late in the game for that, considering the kickoff is in 2 hours. Gates open for the game in like 20 minutes. So yeah, I don't think that I don't think that's going to happen, but we will see.
We'll see how much of that brown liquor, and one of my favorite songs I like to say, is going to be consumed. Asking people to stand out in the parking lot for an extra 2, 3, 4 hours. That's just I agree with you. I don't think that's going to happen. Quick chat question, RJ. Huntley's number is 155.5 for his passing yards. Would you like the under in that game?
Yeah, I think you could probably play him under. Atlanta doesn't have a great pass defense, but they're much better against the pass than they are the run. So the game plan for Baltimore should be to run it with Dobbins, to run it with Gus Edwards as well, and not to throw it a ton. And when they do throw it, not to go downfield, like Mikey was saying. So I think it's going to be hard for Huntley to throw for a ton of yards here. Seems like a game where he's going to get to 100 to 120.
Mikey, go.
Yeah, I would say I honestly like taking the under pregame. If you have an opportunity to bet them live, many books will let you bet player props, especially quarterback passing yards live. When you look to bet that live is if the game's still tied or they fall behind, right? If they're leading this game, don't touch it. You're fine. Okay. I would start on the under.
You start on the under, and then if they get behind, you would bet the over.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Because the live over would come down, and you definitely have the opportunity to middle that because you'd probably gain 30 to 40 yards difference.
Boom, 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 and boom. By the way, Steven says Dobbins rush prop at 69.5 now pays to watch live. I say it all the time. You can watch us on demand, but the most value is watching my guys and gals live. All right, next game. And the Commanders, because of their tie, that actually helps them against teams like the Lions, and you're talking about wild card spots, but they have they can't even be worried about the playoffs today. Oh, no, they're traveling, and this is a 4:05 Eastern game to a team that is rolling, even with a backup quarterback who's becoming the darling of the NFL. So, RJ, I'm going to start with you. 49ers are laying 7, the Fighting Brock Purdy's. Total at 39.5, and Washington coming off that awful performance. They wanted to blame it on the rest. Bottom line is they only scored 12 points. They didn't deserve to win that football game, and now they have to travel all the way to the West Coast. Start us off.
Yeah, it was 7 for most of the week. It's come down to 6.5. I believe the total's a little bit down now. And that's because Washington has a very good defense. They haven't given up more than 21 points since week 4. So San Francisco's offense probably can't run away with this game. And that offense, they had a very easy matchup last week on Thursday night. I know they were traveling, but they played a Seattle defense that has not played well. Didn't score a ton of points in that game. And they did, I believe, get a free touchdown there. I believe it was before halftime, a terrible turnover where they got like a 2-yard touchdown drive there. So San Francisco offense, as good as they are at some of the skill positions and offensive line, they're not scoring a ton of points there with Brock Purdy, who has played solid. And this is a tough matchup for him. That's why you see this number come down to 6.5 now. So I kind of liked Washington at +7. I'm worried about their offense. They might need to just score 13 to cover, but will they do that with Taylor Heineke not playing as well? And little whispers that we could see Carson Wentz at some point inserted back into the lineup. And when you're a quarterback of that caliber, you need to be focused on the game. You can't be hearing those whispers and have to worry about that. So I don't know how he plays in this game against this very, very tough matchup, one of the best defenses in the league. So probably a game that's going to stay under. I don't really want to touch it.
It does kind of feel that way. And Mikey, whenever we talk about quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks, and this is technically not what this is anymore. I mean, Brock has been there for a few games. He's settled in. 49ers players love him. And the same can be said for the Commanders and Taylor Heineke. So if he is unable to play, How big of a difference in your mind does that make for the Commanders bringing in potentially Carson Wentz?
I mean, it makes a little bit of a difference, but I'm not going to pretend like one is massively better than the other in terms of affecting a point spread. It certainly wouldn't be ideal on the Commanders' side to bring him in. If they're bringing him in, it's because things aren't going well in the game already, right? They're not bringing him in a neutral situation unless he gets hurt. So it's obviously not a situation you want to be in. But say he were to start this game over Heineke, I think it impacts the point spread by 1 point. I don't want to pretend it would really have any more impact than that. As far as the game here goes, I had the 49ers in a teaser. Once again, on the wrong side of this one. Fortunately, I knew that was a risk, which is why we have them in a teaser leg. Just need them to win the game. Don't need anything else here in this spot. The move makes sense to 6.5, especially with Young here on the defensive line for the Commanders. But it's a lot like the Ravens, right? So we don't see tons of massive like line movement when Lamar's out, like you might think, because it's more of a product of the system. Same thing here in San Francisco. The quarterback isn't asked to do a ton here in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan puts people in positions to succeed. He's got legitimate weapons, most notably Christian McCaffrey here. I think they get in and get out with the win here. I would not bet them -6.5 or -7 to cover the spread, however. But I do feel pretty confident they escape with the win.
Mikey says something very, very important right there. Get in and get out. RJ, go.
Yeah, I want to add one thing. Motivation has come up a few times about playoff teams. What are they playing for? They've qualified this, that, and the other. San Francisco is the one that I think motivation could be a factor. They won their division last week. They won the game they had to against the only team that could have caught them in Seattle. So they're locked into their division. They're not going to go down to the 4 seed with the NFC South. They're not going to catch one. If anybody's going to catch one, it's going to be Minnesota. So if they're going to go all out, it's going to be to host the number two versus 3 seed if it gets that far. But I think that isn't as big a motivation as trying to get that 1 seed in the bye, trying to make the playoffs in general. So if there's going to be any step back in motivation, get players healthy, not try as hard, essentially. It might be with San Francisco over these last few weeks.
Very, very, very interesting. Mikey, go.
Yeah, quickly on Christian McCaffrey as well. It's worth noting that he was the Pro Bowl snub, was voted by the fans, was not voted by his peers. We will see how well that sits with him. The team has obviously been very vocal about it on social media as well. What that impacts most is likely anytime touchdown scoring markets. That's where I would look on McCaffrey.
I love when we can use motivation to talk about betting because it matters sometimes to these guys. And I think that's a great, great point. All right. The game we've all been talking about for 5 days. We were on it. In fact, Mikey, you were on it way before Adam Schefter, way before anybody who said, hey, he's not playing. And then all week, he could play, he might play. We all knew he wasn't going to play. The line started at 1 the other way. Now it's at 4.5, 47.5. It had been changing like the wind. So AB is on Dak Prescott to throw at least 1 interception today. But let's break this down. Mikey, let's start with you. The Mintshews, the fighting Mintshews of the Eagles, number 1 seed. They've only lost once. They only need to win 1 game to secure the number 1 seed. Start us off.
Yeah, I like this spot for Eagles still. Obviously I had the much better number at 6. I still like it at 4.5. I don't love it. I'm much higher on the Eagles and much lower on the Cowboys than the market has been at times. Look, when you're a backup quarterback like Minshew, it's so much easier to come into a game when you've got time to prepare for it. It's also an opponent that the team in general has scouted incredibly well. It's a divisional opponent. Now you get to play indoors in a dome. It's a lot easier to develop chemistry and timing with receivers quicker when you're not fighting the elements as well. I would much rather him play this game here than at home. As crazy as that sounds, I'm glad the game is in Dallas versus Philly in these kind of conditions. This is the best situation Minshew's ever had. He's got an absolutely elite offensive line, talented playmakers around him with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert back for this game, an awesome weapon when you're a backup quarterback needing someone to check down to. And then the defense, I think they're fantastic as well. I just think it's a great spot for him. And I think he's got all the motivation in the world to go out there and play well. And I think the Eagles want to rally around him. I don't think Jalen Hurts is playing again until the playoffs personally. We will see when he comes back. But I think that some within the team kind of know that, and I think you'll see the team really rally around Gardner Minshew, knowing that it's not just one start coming from him.
But you talk about just getting in and getting out. This feels like this Eagles team is going to try to do that today, RJ. And it's not like, though, that teams have been unable to score on the Eagles. They get up 20 to Chicago, 22 to the Giants, 33 to Green Bay, so 32 to Washington. So you can score on this team. So do you think the Eagles will have to score a lot in order to win this game?
I think it's possible, but I think they can. They're playing the Cowboys, but they're not really playing the Cowboys defense. So many injuries on the report, and the final report, guys questionable, key guys, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, pass rushers. It's going to be a limited defense for them, and it gives him more of a chance to succeed. So I believe the Eagles will be able to score points. We talk about the motivation factor. We're going to do it with the Sunday night game here with Franco Harris. But then you look at Gardner Minshew. He played for Mike Leach. We tragically lost Mike Leach, I think it was about a week ago. And Gardner Minshew missed the first practice of the week, even knowing he was a starter, because he wanted to go to Mike Leach's memorial service. He spoke at the memorial service. I mean, he's going to have a heavy heart going into this game, wants to play well for his mentor here. So if you're going to use motivation as a factor in some of these other games, I don't think there's any spot where there's bigger motivation than Gardner Minshew playing in this game, his first as a starter this year, where he's actually played pretty well as a starter, especially for this Eagles team when he's had to play.
And he talked in that speech, RJ, about how Mike Leach used to encourage him to be himself and to not change for anybody else. And we've seen that. And he said on the field and off the field. So take that for what it's worth. But I think that's a great, great point by RJ. And now in our final game, there's also going to be motivation from the entirety of Steeler Nation, or whatever they call it in Pittsburgh. No disrespect. But this was all about Franco Harris. This was all about 50 years. And then he tragically passed away at the age of 72 earlier this week. But the celebration will go on. So tonight at 8:15 Eastern time. Mikey, I didn't even let you talk about the Eagles-Cowboys, did I?
No, I did.
Did you?
I did.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I felt like it's...
I ranted on it for like 6 minutes. That's probably why you forgot. You probably turned it out.
He was so moved by my Gardner Minshew point that he forgot it. He was just like, I didn't even think about the Mike Leach thing.
That's true. All right. So now I just ruined my own flow. 8:15 Eastern tonight. Total 30. Excuse me. This is now 2. Steelers 2. 38.5 as the lines just keep moving on me. All right. So Micah is on the Steelers money line. But RJ, you're on the Steelers and you're okay to lay the 2. Why?
Yeah, I think that they're going to win this game by at least 3. They match up well here. They have an offense that's run for 150 plus yards in 3 of their last 4 against a New England, against a Vegas defense that just gave up a ton of rushing yards to New England. And their defense can stop the run and make Derek Carr throw where he's not played well in cold weather. Then you get the emotional factor, you get the coaching itch factor. I talked about it earlier. You also get on third downs. The Vegas defense excelled on third downs against New England, went 2 of 13, but Pittsburgh's offense was 12 of 16 against Carolina on third down, and that was with the backup quarterback. Now you get Kenny Pickett back in. You can do a little bit more in the run game. He's a pretty solid rushing quarterback. It's going to be a little bit harder to defend this Pittsburgh offense, and I think that they're actually consistently pretty good on third downs, 8th in the league in third down rate. So I think they have the edge there in that situation. And then if there's any possible way, I don't think any books are going to give this out, if you can bet over 0.5 amazing catches from George Pickens to honor the immaculate reception, he's going to probably put the best catch of the season up in this game at some point because he's going to want to show out here.
I still have a futures ticket in my queue or whatever you call it on George Pickens to be the offensive rookie of the year. He has started to play like the star at times, the glimpses that everybody thinks he is going to be. But Mikey, tonight, the Steelers need to focus on the fact that we've been sleeping on them all year. And now that other teams are stumbling, they are now very much alive in the playoff discussion if they can finish quickly. Do you like the fact that Pickett is back under center?
I do. Yeah, I like the fact that Pickett is back there. I think it gives them a little more options in general here. Love the spot overall, though. I like the under in the game. I think the Raiders really, really struggle in this particular spot. I think the Steelers have a significant home field advantage, a significant coaching advantage. I don't think Carr plays very well in cold weather. We talk about that with a few quarterbacks. We've got a big enough sample size, in my opinion, on Derek Carr in the cold. This one's going to be especially cold here. It's one of the worst weather games of the day. mostly because it's at night. Obviously, the sun has completely disappeared at this point. We're talking 12 to 13 degrees. Winds sustained 15, 20 miles per hour, gusts 35 to 40. If the Raiders do win, it'll be a defensive score. It'll be an incredibly low-scoring game. I like unders pretty much everywhere across the board here, and I like for the Steelers defense to get home and disrupt things here.
And I do want to point out we will not be having a night show tonight, counting down to that. We're giving the crew the entire night off. So this is the only show of the day, to reiterate. All right, so those are all of the games today. But the one thing we love to do on the weekends, and to give you a little added value, a little added bonus to start thinking about next week, we call it the look ahead. And RJ, what game and team are you looking ahead to this week?
Well, we're going to back a team that's not playing today. It's the Green Bay Packers, -2.5, because they're playing the Minnesota Vikings. The market has hated Minnesota for weeks. Whatever they do against the Giants, another team that the market's like fading, that it's not going to change. That the market is going to want to fade Minnesota. Green Bay's offense coming together, receivers all healthy finally. We saw they kind of took a step forward last week, and I think they're going to keep doing that. People expect them to compete with Miami, especially with that Miami defense. If they put up a big number on that Miami defense, this line's going to have to get to 3. People are going to want to fade Minnesota playing outdoors here, and it might even get over the 3. So I think backing Green Bay, especially if they can, we're not going to know if these lines do re-release later today, if that's what Vegas decides to do. We're not going to know what Green Bay has done. But if they do go out and upset the Dolphins, I mean, I can't see any way that this is even under 3, even at 3. It's probably going to be higher than that.
And really pay attention to that, because Green Bay, you're going to look at them if you go and Google playoff scenarios. They've got several things that need to happen, but the one thing that has to happen is they have to win all 3 games. That has to happen. So pay attention to that result against the Dolphins, and then remember what RJ just said. If you want to get it in early before the line, before the official lines come out, and then they change day to day. All right. What a great show today. How much fun was that? A little combination. But grab your paper. Grab your pencil. Here is the recap, and we have a lot. Again, you don't have to bet everything we give you. We just have an incredible crew, and they give out their best bets, and you can take the information for what it is. Quickly, M Squares on the Eagles, Packers, Vikings, teaser Ravens, and the 49ers. AB, Derrick Henry over 12.5 receiving yards. Dak Prescott to throw an interception. Adam Thielen to catch a pass longer than 19.5. The Maestro weighing in. Travis Kelce over 5.5 catches. Titans -3. Remember on Kelce, his yardage as well from the prop show. Then RJ White, Lions, Bears, Steelers, Saints, Browns under. And then a teaser, Saints, Rams, and Richie James with a prop over 3.5 catches. Then Allie, her first ever NFL play. Darius Slayton, longest reception over 21.5. And Micah on the Titans under. And there is all of our prop picks. Just soak them all in. Just let them sit there for a second. Sia and Prop Stars and Uncle Dave. But you got to watch that show live as well, because they give you all the reasons, and then you can look ahead as well. Now, we also, and it was like 45 minutes ago, we gave you out a mini donkey and a mini donkey teaser, sort of. Mikey, take us through, please.
Yes, we've got the mini donkey here. We're hitting all the weather games that I think have the biggest impact here. We're talking cold and winds of at least 10 to 15 miles per hour, which have a very strong track record of the under hitting. We're going Bills at Bears under 40, Bengals at Patriots under 41.5, Saints at Browns under 32, Falcons at Ravens under 35, and then the Sunday night game, Raiders at Steelers under 38, plus 24.93 when you put it all together.
And how about the little teaser you put together for us as well?
Little same thing teaser here. Same games. We're going to do a 6-point teaser. We're going to pay plus 400 across the board. Now, listen, we don't typically tease totals. We're breaking a rule today. We love that the Saints and Browns game, we still get this to 38, keeping us alive with a 20-17 result. But we're going Bills, Bears under 46, Bengals, Patriots under 47.5, Saints, Browns under 38, Falcons, Ravens under 41, and then Raiders, Steelers under 44.
If you cannot have fun today with all the picks we gave you, with all the information we gave you, then I don't know if you can have fun any day. All right? I want you all to be safe. I want you all to travel safely wherever you might be. But we like to end every single one of our shows a certain way. But today I just thought maybe it'd be cool for you just to have a platform just to say whatever you want to say, because not everybody's going to be here tomorrow. RJ, your thoughts?
Well, I'm thankful for everybody that's here, sticking with us even on the holiday day. You guys are a great community, and it makes it fun to come out here and talk football week in and week out with you guys. Try not to miss any episodes because love the support we get from this community, and love being able to do what we do here. So thanks to everyone that's in the chat. Thanks to everyone that is going to download this and listen to it today and carve out a little bit of their holiday weekend with the Early Edge crew.
No doubt. It means the world to us. Mikey, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, well said with RJ there. Appreciate everybody's support. It means a lot that you guys want to spend your time consuming all the content that we put out there. Hope that we've made you guys a little better, a little smarter. You've definitely made us better. You've definitely made us smarter with all the feedback over the years. And enjoy the day today. Let's root for a few punts, maybe a fumble, maybe a missed field goal. Let's go under.
That is so well said. And I got to tell you, it's kind of the Wild West still out here in the sports betting community. And if you would have told me 5 years ago when I left ESPN that this is where I'd be sitting in 5 years and be having the time of my life, I would have told you were crazy. But man, we love doing this, but we can't do it without all of you at home taking the time. So thank you to all of you. One more added bonus today. Caesars has decided to ask us, just little old us, to just weigh in. A little same game parlay with props that you can find at Caesars Sportsbook and Casino. Plus 2,300. I even have a pick in this one. So take a look. It's plus 2,300. And Caesars has been nice enough to partner with us today on Christmas Eve to make things a little bit more fun for you at home. Matthew says, Coach, I love you and the crew. Thanks for all you do. Let's go. Couldn't say it any better myself. All right, I'm going to go spend the day with my kids, cashing tickets, and loving on them and paying it forward. So with that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these holiday tickets straight to the pay window for my entire crew. Damn it, do I love them all. M Squared, the Stoic One, RJ White, the Maestro, Alabama, Micah, Snake, AB, Buckets. Who am I missing? Speculator, Sia. I mean, everybody. I know I missed several, but from all of us to all of you, have a great Christmas Eve. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time live, right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.